Say when we're live.
Moving on. Hello. We've got Paul
live.
Love.
Ooh,
people are liking us
glasses on.
already. Glasses
Specs
on.
on.
It's a rosé evening.
Sun's out.
Everybody, get out of the sunshine and come on in and talk to us about rosé.
Pour a glass.
I've had far too much sunshine today, and
Ooh,
I'm looking very rosé.
I thought you were going to say far too much rosé.
No, I haven't had any rosé yet.
Not yet.
So yes, we've got the specs on because it is such a sunny day.
Yeah.
You have to have your specs on if you're drinking rosé.
It's like summer holidays, but in the kitchen.
Evening all. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Welcome. Yeah, nice to see everyone. Let's just get rid of those.
Yeah, because I
can't see anything. Hope everyone's got themselves a little glass.
Yeah. Question is, what colour on the rosé Richter scale
is
your
true,
rosé?
Yes. Which shade of rosé are you going to? It'd be quite interesting to know, actually, if anyone's snuck in a cheeky bottle of something.
Yeah. Interesting that we're drinking Moroccan rosé and there's no reference to Moroccan rosé on that.
Well, it's a pretty tiny part of the.
It's in the style of Provence. Good evening, Luke Portnow. Hello. Nice to see you.
Yep.
Hi, everybody.
Nice to see everyone on Sunday evening. It's not like an evening. It's like mid-afternoon.
Sunday, yet another lockdown live. Can you believe it? We're still locked down.
Still live, or
are we
alive, should we say?
Still alive. Yeah. Hope everybody's well. Anybody who doesn't know us, hello, Jane Rhodes. Hello, Clarky. Anybody who doesn't know us, I'm Pam. That's Jim.
That's how it's going. Here
we are. And here's the pooch. He's in trouble today. Ooh. Now we know you all love this dog, and he is very adorable. He was in a fight last week, so he's got a little bit of a nick. What did he do today, Jude?
We had the sourdough. I spent days making this loaf of sourdough.
He ate the loaf of bread.
He just went for it when we popped out for a game of tennis. So, note to us: don't play tennis in the afternoons.
We don't leave the bread out.
Yeah, we don't leave the bread out, which we have learned. But he was sort of
anyway. So anybody's wondering why he's so large, it's because he can quite happily consume a loaf of bread on a Sunday afternoon.
I think sourdough is good for the gut, though.
It's good for the brain cells.
Is it?
Apparently so, yeah.
Okay, right. Well, I better get another loaf on the go.
Yeah, supermarket bread apparently is not so good for the brain cells. But we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, that's total digression. So, hi, Tom. Hi, Gemma. Hi, Emma and Tim. Nice to see everyone joining us. It's Sunday. It's Rosé Part 2. Because it's still rosé weather. Yeah. Actually, we have been blessed with a sunny day today to really justify it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
cheers.
Happy Sunday.
Anybody who's drinking the Volubilla Moroccan rosé will be delighted with the lovely colour. I mean, it doesn't get lighter than this, really.
No, let's get the bottle in view.
There we go.
Here we go. So Volubilla. This is what we've decided to drink this evening because Rosé Part 1. We had the Chateau d'Olier Provence Rosé and our German Pinot Noir Rosé.
Yep.
So we wanted to taste something different. And as we are Hannibal Brown, we're all about exploring wines from maybe slightly less travelled corners of the globe or slightly more unusual countries. And this indeed is our Moroccan Rosé. That has been super popular, hasn't it?
And also anybody who's like sort of looking at our rosés, you're probably beginning to realise that actually we are avid supporters of this lovely light colour. I'm not calling it the B word, but
we'll talk about that. Let's have this
colour. Let's go back to this here, the 10 shades.
So a colour wheel which we have borrowed from vinepair.com, as they have noted on the bottom. So the Provence colour, that's what everybody loves, and that is really where this almost sits. The Volubilla, delicate, light,
almost not even pink. In fact, actually,
almost pinkless.
You know, in certain lights, actually, it's almost impossible to see that it's rosé.
Yeah.
But look how the colours compare. It's. I mean, this is obviously just it's a guideline really, and they compare and contrast in various different ways. But
as a rule, right, the
different grape varieties, as we said before, different grape varieties produce wines with different colours. Tempranillo. Kind of interesting there. I would have put it way further around the circle. Yeah. I think it's more like the Tavel.
Yeah, because this is your Rioja grape, which imparts so much flavour, and that spends a lot of time on the skins for making the red wines.
Yeah.
Generally, I think if you've got a Tempranillo rosé, you're looking a bit more down the white Merlot color point, but still it's interesting to see, and actually you can get some really tasty rosés at that scary dark end of the scale.
Absolutely.
They're just not very commercial. So
thank you, Emma Tracy, for confirming he is a bad dog today. I can see Steve Roncontra. Good evening, Steve. He's got Volubilia and our Chateau Cairo rosé,
which is our Turkish rosé.
Kind of interesting. It'd be interesting to compare the two, Steve. So please give us some feedback on comparisons. Jane Rose is on the Volubilia. Very nice.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? Rosé is just very nice.
Everybody loves rosé.
Well, everybody really does love rosé.
Oh, actually, that's not true. You do get a few. Well, I'm not drinking rosé.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
When we take stands at events, usually when events are happening, and such as Badminton Horse Trials or Hay Book Festival, all sorts. And it's really interesting because you get a really good idea of the sort of cross section of people's palates through the way they approach the stand and what they ask for. And often. Oh, well, you get the split at events. You either get, we're on holiday, let's have rosé and celebrate, because there is a bit of a celebration about people.
Or you get, I don't touch rosé.
Yeah, I don't do rosé. It's sweet, it's a girl's drink, whatever. I think actually its reputation has now almost definitely
Jude is our new statistician here.
That's right.
And has been looking at some really crazy stats, actually. And I mean, we'll just go through just a few. We're not going to get boring about this. But some interesting facts. How rosé is pretty much the only category in the whole wine world that is just basically going up like that. And I mean, well, you've got the figures. In the last 15 years, listen to this, everybody. It's hilarious.
So in the last 15 years, rosé sales or consumption worldwide has risen by about 30%. So it's quite a considerable increase.
30% is massive.
In one particular wine area. If you look at the UK alone, in that same period, roughly 15 years, the consumption has increased 250%.
250%.
Is massive.
It is actually. And Jude asked me earlier on, I used to run the wine department for Harrods years and years and years ago, but that was around about, well, it was years, around about the year 2000. And she just asked me, she said, what roses did you sell? And honestly, I don't think we did. I just don't think we sold any rosé. So there's the story.
Very unfashionable, low, considered to be low quality, and just the cheapo plonker, right?
Yeah.
But if you even have that in Harrods. Right?
No. Rosé in Harrods, no. But if you think 250% is huge, which it is, listen to this.
Oh, Sweden.
The Swedes.
In the last 15 years, they're up 750% their rosé consumption. So but the Swedes, Scandinavians, hipsters, they follow the trends. So, or maybe they lead the trends. I don't know. We'll see.
But it is kind of interesting. Why is that? And I mean, a lot of this has got to be, in the last few years, we've been blessed with fantastic weather. Forget about the winter. And, there is some rosé sold during the winter months. A lot more than there used to be, but by and large, it's really as soon as the sun comes up. In actual fact, our rosé sales during the lockdown have gone like, but last week or in the last 10 days when the weather went a little bit iffy, nothing.
Yeah, fickle.
It's so funny.
Rosé drinkers. It's a fickle market. So just actually, really interestingly, Sarah White there has said she tried Whispering Angel earlier. Now, Whispering Angel is this brand we talked about at Rosé Pop, and it's a big brand that has been hugely successful. A dry, light, delicate coloured rosé produced in Bordeaux.
A marketing success.
Branded beautifully in a different shaped bottle and popped into the city at a £20
at a crazy
retail
price point.
So in the pubs, presumably you're paying about 30-40 quid.
Yeah.
And been an absolute success, and people are loyal to the brand. So.
It's mostly in Americans, actually. It's really, really true. It's really the success in the US. But yeah, you're right. In the city of London as well.
But super popular. So there is an emoji to suggest what she thought of it. So we'll speak more about that later.
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed the rosés you've got. Obviously, we've got our lovely Chateau d'Olier Provence rosé that I know that some of you are drinking.
I know you're all converted. I know you're all converted.
To be honest with you, there's only one sort of rosé that we hope nobody's drinking, and I pulled this out of the shed earlier because I found it last week.
Do not go near this.
Look at this chappy.
Do not go near that.
It actually doesn't have a vintage on it, but it's Barefoot Pink Moscato. So this is, your Californian best.
Sweetie pie.
9% alcohol, which means there's still some sugar left in that bottle.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we haven't drunk it. God knows where it came from. If anybody knows where that came from.
But you probably can't see, actually. The colour is absolutely disgusting. It might not actually show up, and maybe,
I don't know if you can do the comparison. I'd hate it to look
it really
similar.
Yeah.
It's not.
It looks like Tizer from where I'm standing. And it's packed full of sugar. But listen, whilst we're talking about it, so who produces? Well, here's a question actually: who produces the most rosé in the world?
Yeah, which country?
Starter for 10.
Which country?
Yeah.
Because
then, whilst you're thinking about that, maybe we can talk about the differences of rosé, and Provence is a huge success story.
Mm-hmm.
I always say if people like rosé and they want their rosés dry, then don't even bother going to the US, because the US's rosé success story is pretty much built on sweet confected wine, because they saw an opportunity. And they jumped onto it and thought, actually, we can capture the younger people who are just entering the wine, wine consumption world, who've got by and large a sweeter tooth. And they actually discovered if they pack their rosés full of lovely ripeness and sweetness and lots, then actually it was very successful. And it's a ridiculously successful. Your Gallo white zins, but it is another side to the rosés that.
And to the whole wine industry, really, isn't it? I mean, it's catering for a sweeter tooth for volume sales. Which, is very important to a lot of people, and they enjoy a glass of sweet wine, but it's just not where we sit, is it? We try to sort of step it up a notch, generally. So quite amusingly, Tom has asked how much of the Barefoot we have, because he needs to stain his decking, which is kind of quite entertaining, and you're very welcome to it. I dread to think of the ant issue.
I think we've got another one. Amanda says we tasted the Barefoot some years ago and loathed it. Well, of course you loathed it.
We've all moved on in the last few years, which is, key. So which country produces the most rosé in the world?
Luke, Simon says the USA.
Yeah, it's interesting, actually.
Nobody else has come up with anything. Suzanne Morgan says, I think, is that France or Italy? I can't work out. I can't see the colour of the flag from here.
I think it's French. It's a tiny little icon.
Okay, there's somebody suggesting that somebody called Hawksy bought at the lot in a barbecue and consumes the most. Well, he probably does.
So, I mean, it's got to be said.
Breed's coming in with France.
Okay, yeah. I think we'll reveal that it is France. In fact, France are huge. France produce 30% of all world rosé.
Massive
production, third of the world's rosé is France. So that's pretty huge. But they also consume an awful lot, France.
Yeah, they do.
In fact, and I think this is really interesting, in France, when you're just thinking still wine, not bubbly, 30% of all still wine consumed in France is rosé. So that's massive, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I really find that. Well, actually, my only experience when I think, there could be some truth in that. Of course it's truth. It is true. But I remember going to Saint-Tropez one time, and they have this thing in Saint-Tropez. They drink their rosé on ice. So imagine your big jug of gin and tonic packed with ice cubes, the way that people like the gin and tonic.
Thing,
massive great fishbowl glass packed with ice, and they call it la piscine. And it's a real thing around Saint-Tropez. Why? Who knows? But that's how they drink it out there.
Sunshines, holidays, extravagance.
It's boiling, and everybody loves an ice cube, I suppose.
That's okay. We don't look down on ice cubes in rosé when you need them.
But it's true. They drink how much? 30% of all wine consumed in France is rosé. But they don't have that much rosé, do they?
True. So let's actually go back onto the world production. French are the biggest producers in the world, followed by Spain, the US, Italy. Those 4 countries alone produce like 75% of the whole of the world's rosé. But if France are drinking an awful lot of rosé and sort of don't really produce enough to suit that volume, and also export a bit, because in fairness, how many Provence rosés do you see on the shelves here? A lot. So where's the rest of the rosé coming from?
Yeah. So they're consuming more than they actually produce.
So where do you think they're getting their rosé from to fulfill their demand?
Yeah. Interesting point.
Because obviously, as a massive wine producing nation, you don't really want to be importing wine.
No.
You want to be selling it.
No. Should we, whilst you're thinking about that, where are they getting the rest of their rosé from? Let's talk a little bit about the Moroccan.
Yes. Has anybody had Moroccan wine before? Has anyone had
Does anybody know where Morocco is?
Oh, would you like a map?
Let's have a map. Finn, like to see the map.
Coming up.
Okay, Finn, here it comes. Here it comes.
This is not the best map in the world.
Oh.
But it is a map. So this is Morocco. The areas which are highlighted with colour are the sort of wine producing areas. And this is from Meknes, which is the kind of turquoise, in between the purple and the yellow blobs.
Yeah. So anybody who doesn't know where we are, that is the point of Spain at the very, very top north there.
Yeah, Gibraltar.
That is the Rock of Gibraltar that you're looking at. And I think it's only like 30 miles over.
Yeah,
into Morocco, which is quite a sizable country, actually. And most of the landscape actually there is kind of mountainous, sand, and well, not very fertile to grow very much.
Not
on.
very
However,
wine regiony, yeah.
They do, and they do grow an awful lot of crops. Actually, they really do. They've got their irrigation sorted out.
They production wise, they go on to my stats again because I always think it's quite interesting. Morocco as a country produce about 40 million bottles a year.
Yeah,
which is tiny, isn't it?
Yes, but how many did the UK produce? 6 million. Even tinier.
Well, that's true. It's a tiny country, though. The UK is even smaller. But they only export a very small amount. Only about 5% of their wine is exported. So they're just. I mean, it's not a massive, majority Muslim country. So there's not a lot of alcohol drunk per capita, I assume. But
I don't know. There's a lot of tourism. A lot of Catholics over there as well.
We went to Morocco a few years ago, and drank some red wines, but didn't really come across the rosé, did we? No,
well, actually, there's the Stephen Cozzi. Yes, he's been to Morocco, been there, not drunk the wine there. Well, we did go with the sort of aspiration of finding some rather sort of decent wine to bring back, and we found absolutely nothing.
Well, so a lot of the time, our explorations, unfortunately, are more successful here when all the producers come over and you can just hammer through 40, 50 different producers, and then you can hone the ones that you really like, that suit our style anyway.
So Tom's got a good question, actually. Do you need a hot climate? I'm assuming that is, do you need a hot climate to produce rosé, or just generally? Well, I personally definitely need a hot climate.
Yes, generally a hot climate is much nicer.
So if that answers your question, that's great. Let's move on. No. Do you need a hot climate? Well, you need sunshine. You need sunshine. You don't want freezing conditions. You don't want hailstones in June, which can happen. So you want a kind of like what you call a Mediterranean climate, really. So if it gets too hot, then the grapes don't produce sufficient acidity. So you end up with wines that are very, very light and don't age because there's just not sufficient acidity in them to see them through. So I suppose the answer is you don't want it too hot and you don't want it too cold. Boom.
There you go. Fence is truly mounted. So a couple of other things. I mean, rosé, it's a big growing part of the wine industry.
Yeah.
There's the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, the sweet, the scary, the bubbly.
Yeah.
And actually rosé bubbly is likely to be maybe on the turn upwards, isn't it? Because there's a new classification which is almost hot off the press, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, literally in the last month. That so Prosecco, as everybody knows that Prosecco can only be white because the grape used in Prosecco is called Prosecco, and it is a white grape variety. So it's impossible to make pink Prosecco. However, in the last month, they have declared that it's permissible to put a little bit of Pinot Noir grape in, which is a black grape, to give colour and call it pink Prosecco.
Mm-hmm.
So that is brand new. So you'll see that probably coming through, I don't know, maybe in the summer or maybe next vintage, the next harvest will be. So labelling, you will see rather than pink bubbly
Spumante,
from Italy
or
that says maybe Spumante, it will now say Prosecco Rosé or Prosecco Rosato probably.
Yeah, it will do.
But anyway.
But it makes no difference because it's the same as what pink Spumante was, but it's just a new classification anyway.
So for those of you who weren't there at Rosé Part 1, just a reiteration of how you make the rosé.
Yes.
Rosé is, to all intents and purposes, made in exactly the same style as red wine, but rather than leaving the grapes on their skins for a long time to sort of basically macerate the color out of the skins, because the skin is in the pigment, the color is in the pigment of the skins. They only macerate the grapes for a very, very short time until they achieve the required color.
Yeah, so and actually we were talking about, I think the orange wine was a week ago today. We were talking about orange wine.
Yep.
And the way that orange wine is produced is the opposite to the way rosé is produced, in that orange wine is white wine produced in the same way as red wine. So white
spit it out. She's only had one.
White wine produced from white grapes, but in the same way as red wine, so it's left on its skins. Yeah. Whereas rosé is the opposite, in that it's produced almost in the same way as white wine, but from red grapes.
Yeah.
So the skins are taken out very early on.
Yeah.
So you just get a little bit of colour.
Yeah.
So they're almost the opposite, if you can get your head around that, because that was more confusing than I expected it to be.
So just going back to the Volubilia from Domaine La Zuina, grapes are...
So there's
Mourvèdre, which is a southern French grape variety that you find a lot in Provence.
There's Cabernet Sauvignon. And if I go back to my colour wheel, that's surprising, because Cabernet Sauvignon was supposedly going to give us quite a scary rosé colour. So there it is,
the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Way around beyond Sangiovese. And then a couple of other, Caladoc and Marcelin, which are, again, French grape varieties.
Yeah.
There's 10,000 wine grape varieties out there. So
the trick with the winemakers is to only macerate really, really, really gently, so that they don't extract too much color. And then, of course, once it goes too dark, then nobody wants to buy it. Strangely.
Yeah. I want to put another question out there. I don't, for those of you who were here last time.
The last one yet?
I'm unsure, but let's put another one out there anyway. How do you choose your rosé when you're going to go and buy a bottle of rosé? What do you go on? Do you go on color? Do you go on if it's a cork or a screw cap, where it's from? Let us know. It'd be really interesting to know, because I think most people are kind of enjoying the Moroccan rosé.
I think it's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. It's
really difficult.
And just going back to your point about, French rosé consumption represents 30% of their total wine consumption. Well, that kind of makes sense now, because if you go down to a supermarket in France, Leclerc and what have you, and you go down those supermarket aisles, there is just like tons of rosé.
Yeah.
Where do you start? Where do you start? I don't know where to start. No idea.
Suzanne says colour. Lou actually, hi Lou and Bruce, by the way. Lou says Rosé Dom Perignon is one of the yummiest bubbly she's ever tasted.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to go easy on it.
I wonder whether you drink that every night. So Finn is back, because I am sitting here holding one of these little chappies, and he's rather partial to these little chappies.
Now that one came out of this bottle, right?
It is. People who've got La Zuina will notice that actually it is neither cork nor screw cap.
Yes,
it's indeed. This funny little composite thing, which is basically made of plastic. And what do we think about these?
Well, we hate plastic. We do all we can to avoid plastic. He'll have it. We do all we can to avoid using plasticky materials. Yeah. However, there are probably good reasons to use it, I'd say.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, cork, screw cap are ultimately the best solutions. But this actually came along when there was so much corked wine around. Some of you will have heard me tell you, back in the mid-90s, corked wine was running around about sort of 25% of all wine had some form of taint, some sort of cork taint. So, winemakers needs to find a really quick solution. And screw cap was one of them. And these little plastic chappies was the other one. And I mean, they do a job. They're not brilliant.
Quick close, isn't it?
They're not brilliant, but they are super cheap. And, these guys want to keep the price down to keep it more accessible to as many people as possible.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a reflection of the quality of the wine, right?
No, it's doing its job.
Yeah.
It's doing its job.
But you'd rather it either be proper cork.
Yeah.
Proper cork.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, I guess we'll go for screw cap because you want to keep it fresh. But hey, that's just... It's the producer's choice, isn't it?
There's still a lot of these plastic corks around, and you can turn your nose up. And the biggest issue with these corks is once you take it out of the bottle, you can't put it back in the top of the bottle, which is really rather irritating. But what can you do?
It is what it is.
What can you do? You just got to drink it.
So a lot of people have said they choose their rosé on the colour. Lou has been really honest and said she also goes on basically the label, the price, or ideally a recommendation, which you know is the right answer. But honestly, yeah, what have we got to go on? You've got the label, you've got the colour.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly, that is it. But there are some sort of simple, basic principles that you could potentially follow. Like I mentioned, the US, their rosé tends to be 99.9% of rosé that comes out of the US is sweet and sinkly, and it will rot your teeth. So don't drink it.
Don't do it. It's like this. If you want this, then we'll sell it to you.
Don't drink it. I mean, just to give you an idea of the amount of sugar. So in this wine,
the Zuina,
there's probably no more than 2 grams of sugar per litre. So even more than that, 2 grams of sugar per litre, if that, possibly even nothing. In your nasty barefoot, or let's talk about Gallo white zin or Beringer white zin, it's north of 50, 60, 70 grams of sugar per litre. So there's a lot of sweetness going into those wines, but it's a different market. If you like that, great. If you don't,
and it has to be said, it might indeed be natural sweetness. Some of it is,
some of it will be
pure grape ripeness. Yeah, but then some of it is, how you make jam.
Tate and Lyle, and that's literally how it is. You're throwing bags and bags of Tate and Lyle sugar into it. It's called chaptalization from the chaptal, and it is permitted to put sugar in wine in certain regions, but not everywhere, and only really when the climate is not providing sufficient heat. So going back to Tom Treadwell, not enough sunshine, and you're not going to produce enough ripeness in your grapes. So Bordeaux is a great example, and some of the world's best wines come from Bordeaux. They are allowed to add sugar, and by and large they generally do, because it's a relative, it's a climate that's kind of similar to here, and often they don't get enough ripeness in the grapes, so they are permitted by law to add sugar.
That fact in itself is going to upset so many people who are sort of got this perfect, beautiful, organic view of these ancient Bordeaux chateaux.
But it's only added to allow them to achieve the fermentation to the true alcohol that they want. Right, so remember, the sugar goes in, then the fermentation starts, and that fermentation process is basically that yeast is eating up the sugar and converting it to alcohol. So if there's not enough sugar in the first place, you don't get enough alcohol. So that's the reason why they add sugar. Then you don't get enough flavour, and it's just not the experience you want when you open up your bottle. Exactly. In fact, it's kind of something that we talk about. There's some sort of low alcohol wines in the market these days. And I remember when I used to work for Foster's, everybody knows Foster's as the beer company, but at a certain point, Foster's was the second biggest wine company in the world. They bought up lots and lots of estates and producing huge stuff, Lindemans, Wolf Blass, all that. And now I've forgotten what I was going to say. What was I talking about?
Well, corks, screw caps.
No.
Post that.
No. Low alcohol. So, and we did a little test because there is a market out there that are asking for lower alcohol wines. And the thing is, alcohol adds flavour. So if it's too low, then there's no flavor in the wine. And we were testing at around about 5% alcohol in the wine, and there was nothing to it. Just didn't taste of anything. 6%, 7%. It really doesn't get interesting until you get to sort of 8 or 9%. So low alcohol wines, fair enough, but they won't have flavor. And if they have got flavor, then it's been added.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
So these are additions.
Good point.
Yeah.
I mean, we've tasted just a few no alcohol wines, and it's
we've struggled with the no alcohol.
It's not what it's all
wine.
about, unfortunately. So it's not going to happen. John asked if Australians put screw caps and corks and plastic corks on their hats. I'm sure they do a very good job at grazing your face as the wind blows.
I like that.
But actually, the Aussies weren't long after the Kiwis in.
And even the glass stoppers. How about glass stoppers?
That'd be good. Yeah, black eyes all around. Tom's asked a good question. Can you add sugar to it in the UK? Is it allowed in English wine production?
Yes, it is.
And a lot of that is probably because a lot of our production is sparkling.
Yes.
So actually, I'm not sure. We've probably tasted a couple of English
we just don't get the climate.
rosés.
We don't get the climate.
Yeah, you don't. There's not much. It's still English rosé produced. Adding the sugar is to help the second fermentation for bubbly.
Yeah. If you think about your tomatoes in the back garden,
we've got some.
There's some in the back garden somewhere. Think about your tomatoes. They are not going to ripen unless the sun shines. Well, they will, but it'll take a lot longer. Longer. And probably at the end of it, you'll probably end up with some green ones, which you have to discard or make dry green tomatoes, which I've never had and I'd like to have.
Never made.
Great film, though. Great film.
But back to the point. I think if you're making a still rosé, you don't really want to be having to add sugar to it because it's going to be awful.
No.
So you need to have quality in the fruit. Making a sparkling is a different matter. So still rosé in this country has got a way to go, I'd say.
Yeah. So going back to what do you buy when you go into the supermarket? Well, if you want sweet, really sweet, sickly, US. If you want alcohol. guaranteed dry, Provence or Morocco. Languedoc. Yeah. I mean, I don't know any wine producer in the south of France that would even go near producing a sweetened rosé wine. Yeah. It just doesn't exist. They are all dry whites. But I suppose the difference is, you got to find producers that actually go out of their way to make rosé wine intentionally rather than it being a byproduct of red wine that has failed.
Yeah.
Do we talk about that again?
Do we talk about that? Do it briefly. Briefly explain why red wine would fail and why it would make rosé.
Okay, so the majority of rosé back in the day arrived on the market because this was red wine that just didn't work out. So there wasn't enough color in the skins. They couldn't achieve enough depth. It was lacking, possibly lacking acidity, just lacking all over. And the winemaker would just say, you know what? It's not going to make red wine. Chuck it in the rosé. And didn't have two more thoughts about it. It was literally a byproduct. Wasn't designed to be fantastic wine. It just went onto the market and was consumed as vin de table.
Pop it in the piscine.
Pop it in la piscine, exactly. Those days still exist, unfortunately, because there is still a lot of red wine that fails. Yeah. And this is where the division is of the really, not good rosé, and the other rosés where the producers are going out of their way to produce rosé of a good quality. And now we talk about the wines in Hannibal Brown's portfolio.
Indeed, yeah.
Chateau Kyra.
Which Steve has just mentioned, which is only 11.5%.
Fantastic.
It's Turkish, so it's from a hot climate.
Yeah.
So they've not had to go silly, like ripe on the fruit.
No.
Okay, as he mentions,
picked early.
Okay,
so probably it doesn't picked early, so it doesn't get too ripe.
That wine does have a little hint of dryness or sweetness, if you like to call it that, about it. Yeah. Which goes really well with a lot of their mezze food, like lots of the spicy mezzes and asparagus. Oh, not very Turkish. Yeah, not very Turkish. Not when I was there, anyway. But it's all about balance, isn't it? So yes, Turkish, yes, Moroccan, but beautiful Chateau d'Olier, Provence.
Yeah.
along the south coast into the Languedoc, Mas de Domas Reserve de Gassac Rosé, £10 a bottle. Brilliant.
Yeah, so
brilliant.
Look it up, Reserve de Gassac. You can look it up, HannibalBrown.com, go into the search engine and just put Gassac, Gassac, and it'll come up.
Choose rosé. You'll get more.
That winery are world renowned for their reds and whites, and they've only made rosé in recent years, but no less attention to it compared to their reds and whites. It's lovely. It's just light tenor, and then.
Drum roll.
Da, da, da. Have we mentioned Chateau d'Olier?
Surely. Provence, we love Provence. And Chateau d'Olier even comes in magnums, which is that much more enjoyable.
It does. Apologies to the person this week that actually ordered half a dozen magnums and we sent them bottles. But we will get those magnums out to them.
Grown,
but it does. It comes in bottles and magnums. It is phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah,
if you blindfold yourself if you're still not convinced about rosé, just put a blindfold on and just experience how good that wine is.
Yeah, it's great. It's delicious and worth every penny of the 15 quid or whatever.
Yeah.
14, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty clear that everybody who's here this evening are drinking rosé.
Fantastic.
Which is fab.
Fantastic. Cheers.
Just to go back to, who drinks the most rosé in the world? Well, we've said the French are massive. I do love a glass of rosé. The French are massive. The French, are a massive portion of the market, followed by the US closely, Germany a bit further behind. But the UK are the fourth largest consuming country of rosé in the world. Now that is huge considering
we love it.
We drank none of it 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And we're like, ooh, no rosé.
Yeah. I'd be really interested in what's going on in Scotland, because Scotland used to have a proper no-no about rosé. It was, it was for girls.
Girly drink. Yeah.
I hope they change their mind. Well, they're getting better weather as well. I mean, it is a sunshine drink. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and that's great. And that's why we kind of like to celebrate it. And that's why we list so many different ones.
Yeah.
There's no point in having 4 Provence rosés because we think we've got the best ones. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
But wines, the rosés from different countries really reflect actually the growing conditions well. So
they do. But it is really difficult. So don't get het up about the great variety or what it tastes like, because it's incredibly difficult to characterize a rosé.
Yeah.
And it is really interesting, if we all blindfolded ourselves, what would we think? Would we think it was white? Would we think it was red? Would we realize it was rosé? It's very, very difficult to characterize it.
It's just brilliant when you get a good food pairing with it, which we've not even spoken
Life's too short. Let's just drink it and enjoy it.
It's true. Lainey was just asking if Fez is the only wine producing area in Morocco, and actually, but just go back to the map, which is not as smooth as it should be, but I'm getting there.
That's the entrance to Zouina, by the way.
They can't see that. This is what they can see.
Okay.
So the Atlas Mountains and everything is further down to south, and then the Sahara. So obviously that's not particularly fertile. But as you look up at the colourful areas, those are all wine-producing areas. Meknès and Fez is probably the majority, but there is a bit here and there, and in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains as well. We're back.
Because I see there's a conversation going on about ice cream here. Magnum.
Well, Lou loves a Magnum.
Yeah.
Lou and Bruce love a Magnum, and I'm sure it would go very well with one of these if you'd like it. It's $4.99.
No, actually, if you want something fantastic to go with ice cream, we're going to do it next week.
That's true. So we should really just recap on the lineup coming up. So Thursday is Volcanic Night. So we have our Pompeiano Rosso, which is the red wine from
Pompeii,
Mount Vesuvius, and our Taginaste Listan Blanco, which is a white wine from Lanzarote.
Which is volcanic wine.
Yeah, really interesting. And I've got the canapé sorted. The recipes will be on the website
tomorrow.
I hope. I'll do my best.
And then Sunday, dare I say, it's Sweetie Sunday. But not we're not doing rosé.
No, proper, very, very nice dessert wines.
Yeah, we're gonna do. We're just gonna have a little chat actually about when they work and when they don't, and what to have with them and what not to. So ice cream, vanilla ice cream with Campbell's Topak.
Campbell's
Topak. You literally pour it over the top. Oh, fantastic. But the other one that we're going to be looking at is Casas del Bosque Late Harvest Riesling, which is light, really, really light and fabulous with
goat's cheese.
With goat's
cheese.
I'm
going to suggest a little
and
goat's
lemon
cheese.
tart, I was thinking. But lemon tart, right. Also goat's cheese.
I'm more goat's cheese, Pam's more lemon tart. But no, a really nice food pairing combo, and choose a dessert wine, any dessert wine. We'll kind of go through the spectrum.
Yeah.
And then if you go onto the website on the homepage and just click on the link to our lockdown live tastings, we've got the whole month ahead planned out. So you can order the wines in advance and just join in. And hopefully you've all been joining in this evening and enjoying a rosé, if not a number of different rosés by the looks of it.
Yep. So there is no shortage of wines at Hannibal Brown at the moment. We've still got about 120 in the portfolio at any one time. If you're looking for something specific, give us a shout. We've got our Explorers Wine Club that you can join. It's incredibly flexible. You can start it and stop it whenever you want. You can almost decide what you want in it yourself.
We do that though, and that's much more fun. You get something we know you're going to like.
And of course, the DIY tasting kits, which there's plenty of them. So if you're feeling a bit bored at night in the evening and you want to have a play with, your neighbours and what have you, then everybody can buy a DIY tasting kit and just do your own quiz. Great. Yeah. But the other thing.
Oh, Father's Day.
Father's Day. Boom, boom, boom. He's disappeared.
We've replaced Finn with a cardboard cutout of himself. If you want to get a really nice heartfelt gift out to poor lockdown dad this Father's Day, give us a shout. Send us a photo. You choose a wine. We'll design the label, put a message on there. It's really lovely. We'll send it directly out. And it's a really nice personal gift. So
don't forget, it's coming up 21st of June, I think.
The information all about that is on our personalized wine design website, which is personalizedwinedesign.co.uk. You'll see links in from the other website, or just contact us. If you're here on Facebook, you know where to find us. Hope everyone's had a really great weekend. Thank you all for joining us again on Sunday in the sunshine. I hope you're all sitting out there with your rosé in the sunshine, which we will go and do just now, I think.
Yeah, there's just a quick question come in, and that's a fact. The reason we don't generally go for rosé is that they mostly have a metallic edge that we really hate. We suspect you might agree because yours don't.
Aha.
Do you know what that metallic thing is caused by? Well,
tricky.
Dirty winemaking.
Oh, it's a big slap in the face to whichever wine you've been drinking there, Steve. But yeah, if you find, we taste hundreds, if not maybe even in the thousands of rosés a year.
Yeah.
And find the ones that we really love and think are great. And I think that's the key,
It is just down to the quality of winemaking. And as I said, just going back, still the majority of rosé that is produced is not produced qualitatively. It's finding the winemakers that actually just they want to make a nice wine.
The answer to that exact point is Steve and Amanda, is that we try and filter through lots and lots of wines to get ones that
we're the ones that drink all the rubbish,
to get wines that we really honestly hand to heart think are fab and worth their price point and fit into the list perfectly. So if you enjoy our wines, then keep sampling through the range, because honestly, we've tried to do that process for you of filtering out the crap.
Yeah.
And on that,
just a final call on Thursday evening. Anybody who missed it, we did Grüne Veltliner. The video is on YouTube. You can look back anytime. There were two Grüners, Olram and
Arndorfer.
Arndorfer is the biodynamic organic one. Olram is the organic one. They went down a treat. They really did.
Absolutely stunning.
Look them up. They are stunningly good wines, and I think we've even done a video for you.
We will have done by the time you look for it.
I know. These shirts are getting quite a lot of outings. We have got more than one, by the way.
Okay, well, look, thanks, everyone. Really lovely to see you.
Yeah.
See you on Thursday. Give us a shout in the meantime if you need the wines or any advice or fancy a tasting for yourself and your family.
Yep.
All right. So
nice to see you.
Cheers. Rosé Part 2.
It's a quick one this evening.
Cheers.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.